Bethlehem. Actually, this is at Al-Dahesh refugee camp in Palestine. So he did go to the Palestinian refugees to see. This is a Palestinian refugee camp. This was during his trip to the Palestinian territories. He visited Bethlehem. He visited with Yasser Arafat, and this is he went to visit the people of the camp. There is Yasser Arafat there. Okay, we're going to go to, he's been waiting for a long time, my friend Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
Karl Marx once observed that religion was the opium of the world.
Yes.
And I think what he gets at when he makes that statement is when you combine the fervor of religion with the opportunism of politics and government, then what you get is a narcotic effect. I think that what's happening in the Mideast on a micro level is shown up in the Shivo affair recently. For politicians, for many politicians, there's no right or wrong. There's just opportunity. And when you present opportunity in the crucible of religious fervor, well, now you have committed followers who will do whatever you want them to do. And I think that exposing this for what it is, and what I mean by that is challenging men like Bush in delay on their beliefs, and by someone like Father Loui or Dr. Cusimano standing up and saying, look, this is just simply not right. It's not right from a moral viewpoint or a religious viewpoint. Helps break this narcotic effect. And I think that's what Marx meant, that inappropriately used by government, religion, shanghaied. What do you all think?
I agree with you entirely. I would not dispute a point you make.
I would also agree, and I would say, you know, one person who's really trying to do something to broaden the whole issue of this so-called moral values is Jim Wallace of Sojourners magazine. And he has a book out called God's Politics. And he says, you know, one of the real moral issues, moral values we should be dealing with is poverty in our world. That's a significant issue. And it's what he's doing is challenging, you know, the political correctness of focusing simply on a few issues, and they're mostly sexual issues. And he's saying, let's broaden it. Let's look at all of these issues. Let's look at issues of war and peace. Let's look at the issues involving the dying people in Africa right now, who we don't seem to be all that concerned about. So I agree with you. Yes, it's very dangerous for politicians to take and to be so selective in what moral issues and what moral values they're going to promote.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to Randall on 2. Go ahead, Randall.
Good evening, distinguished gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm enjoying the program. I do have a comment concerning Bush and the religious right. I believe personally that Bush and some of his top group that's leading the country don't actually hold right-wing religious values. I believe basically, if you pardon the term, they're using the right-wing Christians as their prostitute to accomplish their ends. I do believe they believe something in Revelation.
It could be the other way around too, where the Christian right is using them as
That's possible too.
blank.
They're using each other.
There's a portion in Revelation, and I don't know where, but it predicts the number of the horsemen as 200,000. If you multiply that number out, that's 200 million. Right now, recently, in periodicals, they said China can mass an army itself of at least 200 million men on the ground, not adding the other nations around. And I believe what's going to be the catalyst for that is their economy is growing, and what you need for a growing economy? Oil. And I think what George Bush is trying to redo is trying to get the American empire to get control of those oil fields and keep them under American dominance. But I don't see where, if 200 million men get on the march, that even with nuclear warheads, he's going to be able to stop it. But I'm going to go ahead and hang up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could I make a comment about China? Well, you know, the United States uses 20% of the amount of oil that is used on a daily basis, and today China uses 8%. But you're absolutely right, as more vehicles are hitting the, as a matter of fact, I've heard that there are 1,000 new cars that hit the streets of Beijing every week. As more and more vehicles appear in China, there's going to be a greater demand for oil. Now, how the rapture movement actually ties this into the book of Revelation, and you're right about the numbers there in the book of Revelation with that, but you can even go further back and find those same numbers in the book of Ezekiel. If you go back further into the Hebrew Scriptures, you'll find those same numbers used. This business about, you know, when one of the angels empties out this sixth cup of evil that's in the book of Revelation, that sixth cup of evil dries up the Euphrates River. And it says then that the kings of the east will use that as a highway to come into their territory. And thus these people in the rapture movement are identifying China with these kings of the east because of their need for oil, that they're going to get more concerned in the Middle East and want to take greater control of the Middle East. And again, you can see how religion can be used in political issues, and I think all of that is a great deal of hogwash.
Let me ask you something. I mean, oil has been around for about, what, 120 years, is it?
Well, at least, yes.
Yeah.
You're correct, in
Okay.
Late 19th century.
Right. So what is it in the book of Revelation that, because actually that's oil, and you know, the supply of oil is decreasing, is one of the index that some of these people who believe in the rapture have actually put on their list. Does it say in the book of Revelation anything about oil, or did they know back then that there's going to be oil? And also, I mean, if oil is gone, I'm sure the technology and the brains that created all this stuff and the brains that went to the moon and beyond will be able to come up with a different source of energy, and I think they're working on it. So if we find there's probably another source of energy out there somewhere that is going to put oil to be an obsolete thing.
Oh,
it's going to be the horse and carriage. So where are we going to go with that? It doesn't fit, does it?
No, it
doesn't.
doesn't.
There's nothing in the book of Revelation about that. There's this business, again, about these kings of the east coming into the territory there, using the Euphrates. That's in the book of Revelation, but there's nothing about oil. But you know, Hesham, people are not going to get off of oil until that last drop is used. You know, that's just the way human nature is. We don't seem to really be very provident, and we're going to let this crisis just build and build and build and cause a great and further turmoil.
Well, most of these people believe, these Christians, the Christian right, that movement, they believe that this world is going to end in about 40 years.
Right, and that's why they're not concerned.
And actually we have some of them on the internet who kind of, they're timing it, the rapture clock. So if they think this is going to be out in 40 years, so it's okay, go ahead and exploit actually the resources of the world.
Exactly, they're not concerned with anything about the environment. As a matter of fact, this rapture clock that you talk about, it's called the Armageddon clock, and I have a copy of it here. In the year 2004, we're 3 minutes to midnight, and midnight is Armageddon and the end of the world. And it says here, the years of rapid growth in the Chinese economy has caused